It's probably hard to find a person who doesn't know what Fortnite is. I had known of Fortnite for a couple of years, just saw people mentioning it here and there. For some reason, I never actually played it until my best friend sort of forced me to set it up on my computer and play with them. They insisted on playing in squads, which is what you call playing in groups of 4 people. My friends were Max, John, and Dan. Max was actually the best player among us. He spent hours and hours playing Fortnite. He knew the game inside out and was basically the one who started this squad match. His parents were away for a week, and his aunt, who was staying with him, didn't mind him playing Fortnite. John was the second best, who joined recently, but was a smart kid who is just good at everything he does. Then there was Dan. He was silent most of the time and spoke only when he had problems and needed some help. I think his parents weren't very happy about him playing Fortnite, so he had to be cautious and make sure they don't hear him playing it. Max, John, and I were just goofing around, making jokes, encouraging each other, and just talking about nothing the whole time. You know how it goes. It was my first time playing Fortnite. Max and John did their best to help me understand over the headset how to play. In an hour and a half, I started to make some progress. I was getting more and more excited, finally seeing why people were so into Fortnite. At some point, I realized that Max, our best player, was silent for a minute or so. From the start, he was the one who was leading us from one point to another, but now he stopped dead in his tracks. His character just stood still. "Max, what are you doing? Move!" John said, sounding annoyed. But his character continued to stand still in one place. Max hadn't replied, but his mic was on, and I could definitely hear some background noise coming from his end. John, me, and Dan were all telling Max to move or we would just ditch him if he had decided to take a break and watch a movie or something. I picked up my phone to call his house, and right when I was about to do that, a dreadful, almost painful loud scream came from Max's mic. It didn't sound like he was screaming into the mic or anything. It seemed like he was somewhere in the room a couple of meters away. I was horrified, too scared to say anything and waiting for Max to laugh and tell us what a fun prank he'd played on us. A couple of seconds later, we heard a door slam shut. When I heard the door, I told the others I would call Max right away and turned off my console. Worried sick and with shaking hands, I dialed Max 5 times, but he never picked up. I left messages telling him if he was trying to fool us, I would never talk to him ever again. 10 minutes passed with no response, so I decided to take my parents' car and drive to his house, which was only 10 minutes away. I told my mom I had to pick up a school project from Max and would be back soon. When I got to his house, there were no cars in the driveway, but the front door was wide open. The lights were on in the house. I parked and ran into the house, shouting Max's name and searching for him. How stupid of me. What if something terrible had happened and the responsible person was still in the house? At the time, I didn't think about that. I was just worried sick for Max. Suddenly, I heard Max screaming back from somewhere upstairs. I followed his voice and found him in the bedroom, hiding in the wardrobe. He whispered for me to hide. I refused and told him to get out and tell me exactly what happened. He whispered that there was someone in his bedroom. I joined him in the wardrobe and told him that I searched the house and there was nobody. Besides, the front door was open, and if there was somebody, they had fled in a hurry. It took him a while to calm down and finally tell me the whole story in detail. He said that when he was playing Fortnite with us, he suddenly heard a tiny tap under his bed. He went to look underneath the bed, only to find a grown woman hiding underneath. That's when he threw his headset on the bed and screamed while backing into the corner. The woman emerged from under his bed, holding a kitchen knife in her hand. Max was paralyzed in fear in the corner. She put her finger to her mouth, gesturing him to stay quiet, and then walked straight out of the bedroom. I stood there still, feeling terrified for my friend, and at that point for myself as well. We didn't know if she was still there or not, and the only thing we could and had to do was to get out and call the cops. All we had to do was to get out of the wardrobe and reach the phone, which was a couple of meters away from us. He had a baseball bat in his wardrobe, so I grabbed it, and we carefully opened the door, and as quietly as we could, went towards the phone, scared out of our minds. When the police came, we had no idea what to expect. Besides, we didn't know where Max's aunt, who was supposed to be in the house, had disappeared to. 2 cops showed up. One of them went inside the house to check around, while the other stayed with us and wrote everything we said into a small pocket notebook. Suddenly, while we were talking to the officer, a car pulled up to the house and Max's aunt got out. Turned out, she went to the shop to buy some ice cream. After the police left, I went back home and checked every corner of my room just in case. That night, and a couple of nights after, I slept with the lights on. The police never found that woman. We still play Fortnite together because it's just impossible not to. Max is still the best, and I'm close to being the second best. I feel much better and have slept with the lights off for several weeks now.